Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Garrison, and in the spirit of the trees, in the spirit of living nature, with deep gratitude for all the generations before us that have brought us to the present moment, I want to welcome you to this session of Humanity Rising. Today, I want to open our session with a note of sadness and condolences to those in the small town outside of San Antonio, Texas, yesterday at the elementary school, grades 2 through 4, so that they're very young children, 19 of which were killed by a shooter who was only 18 years old. 2 faculty were also killed in another senseless act of violence in America. He had bought 2 assault rifles on his 18th birthday. And yesterday he started his rampage by shooting his grandmother in his own house. And then went to the school and opened fire. And then was killed by the police when they finally arrived on the scene. The tragedy in the tragedy is that killing yesterday, I want everyone to just take this in. That killing yesterday was the 210th mass shooting in the United States this year. Mass shooting is defined as a shooting that involves either killing or injuring at least 4 people, excluding the shooter. 210. We're in the 20th week of 2022. That's an average of about 10 a week, mass shootings in the United States. Several weeks ago, there was a mass shooting in Chicago, and over the one weekend, it was around Easter, if you remember that one, 100 people were shot in Chicago alone. Since 2020, more children are now killed through gun violence than any other single cause. It's extraordinary what's happening in the United States of America. And I wanted to just begin our program here because when we talk about health, when we talk about well-being, when we talk about all the things that we've been discussing over the last several days, we're in the 3rd of a 5-day program on self-health and empowerment. Today, we're going to talk about regenerative health. We need to understand that it's against the backdrop of literal carnage in the United States. There are now more guns in the United States than there are people. Although interestingly, 80% of the American public does not own a weapon. The 350 million weapons or so that are in the United States are held by about 20% of the population. And I don't remember the exact statistic, but something like 70 or 80% of the weapons are held by about 3% of the people who have vast arsenals. And I know this to be true because my own brother-in-law, an intense evangelical Christian, has an arsenal of weapons that is almost enough to supply an entire police department or small army squadron, such as the paranoia and fascinations with guns in America. The deeper tragedy is it doesn't appear that anybody is actually going to do anything about it. And I want to bring this note in because whether it's gun violence or climate change or saving our democracy or doing anything in a collectively meaningful way about any of our challenges, the United States is in a state of paralysis. So this tragedy is going to quickly fade unless someone like Rosa Parks stands up. And I found out something about Rosa Parks last night watching the news that I didn't know before. And I want to bring this in before turning it over to Deanna. We all remember Rosa Parks because in late 1955, she, among others, but was one of the principles that ignited the civil rights movement, along with Martin Luther King and all the others that galvanized world attention in the 1950s and 1960s around civil rights in the United States by refusing to give up her seat to a white man on a bus. And that was, as they say, a shot heard round the world. What I didn't know is the reason why she did it at that moment. And the reason why she did it at that moment was because in August of 1955, in Montgomery, Alabama, a 14-year-old boy had gone into a supermarket to buy some candy. And somehow a white woman was offended that a black boy was in the same market as her. And so two white men seized him, abducted him into an unknown place, and beat him to death, lynched him. And when his body was found and the funeral was convened, his mother insisted that the casket was open so that the whole world could see the beaten face of her son, 14 years old. And you know who was in the congregation? Who filed with all the others up to the casket and looked at the broken face of that young man? It was Rosa Parks. And she was so galvanized in her soul with what happened that she vowed to do something to change things. And she did when she refused to give up her seat a few months later to a white man. My prayer today, my friends, is that somewhere 100,000 Rosa Parks would stand up and we repent in this country of the most egregious sin that we commit among many. And that is the perpetual sacrifice of our young to guns. That's what's true. That's what we need. That must be our prayer, that somehow, in some way, we can begin the process of healing by taking away the weapons that are killing us. 10 mass shootings a week in this country. So this is a somber day and a somber way to convene our program on regenerative health. But I wanted to bring it in because we need to be regenerating our health in the widest possible way as we contemplate how we can collectively heal ourselves and bring to pass a way of being in the world that will make violence against our children a crime against humanity and obsolete in a world aligned with truth and justice and the natural system. So thank you everyone for joining today. I want to now turn it over to my good friend and colleague, Deanna Rice, who will convene our session with some sound healing. We all need sound healing as we mourn today. And then we'll begin our program on regenerative health. Thank you, Deanna, and welcome to Humanity Rising.
Thank you, Jim. Yes, I want to hold space for everyone that's grieving in Texas and bring something for us to, on the waves of sound, move our energy into the world for love and compassion right now for the people that are grieving so heavily. So I want to start out with something to pierce through all of our broken hearts right now. And I invite you to lower your eyes or close them and just allow the sound to move in and where I guide you. Letting that sound pierce through any holding pattern. And moving into the brain, following this perfect fifth, down the spinal cord, into the pelvic basin, gathering energy, moving down through the legs as a grounding cord into the planet, beautiful Mother Gaia, into her core, grounding us all with nature and her energy. And bringing that energy up through your feet, all the way through, up into the heart. And moving this heart sound out into the world. Our love and compassion for each other on the call, integrating us all. Moving it out into our world, into war zone in Ukraine, into Texas, and all the American people that are suffering with this amazing proliferation of gun violence. May we find some peace in our hearts and love to guide us all. And thank you for your attention. I want to bring the program is an interesting program today for regenerative health. I have 3 people on the call, and I'm introducing a couple right now that is in Northern California. I have to explain how I was so amazed by their work when I came out. Antonia Van Becker and Greg Lee. I'm so honored to have you both here. Your model blew my mind.
Thank you, Deanna. Oh my gosh, it's so great to be here.
You have helped a lot of people through your amazing work with the bioenergetic body and how we gather information from it. In this unique way, using pendulums and asking certain questions. I use it so much before I go to sleep. It clears my body and my mind and my heart. And I'm hoping and so that we can utilize this model, which is so precious, to heal today what's happening right now in this immediate moment for all of us that are heartbroken. So I turn it over to you, and I'm very excited to have Miriam come in too when you're ready, just to, invite her in because she's going to do some demo work with you. Blessings.
Thank you
And
so
welcome.
much. And, I love that you were talking about doing the healing at night before you go to sleep. And what we do is core talk holistic therapy. And Deanna's talking about running meridians and clearing your chakras. And that's part of the healing, this innate healing system that we have within our bodies. Every single person has it, and we can utilize it to regenerate our own health, to help others regenerate their health. Our mission is to put healing back into millions of people's hands. And that's why we're here, because that's our jam. That's what we love to do. We teach it. We talk about it. That's pretty much what we do. Huh?
Yeah. Well, what I love about, when we talk about regenerative health, that is what our body does.
Mhm.
It has this wisdom to do exactly what we need in the moment to bring healing to our whole system. And it knows exactly how to do it. Now, what's interesting about when you start applying what you want in your life and how you want to regenerate your life and bring more health to your daily practice, then what do? Well, what we do is we teach people how to use a pendulum and how to talk to their body. So that's why we call it core talk. And actually, Deanna named this process for us after
Right?
we had our business going for almost 20 years. And so what's interesting is that whole regenerative process that our body does without having to think about it, it does naturally. When we put our mind into it, we say, body, I want to get this result, whatever the result is that you're looking for. Is there something that I need to clear, or a meridian or emotion that I need to clear to have that happen? And look at my pendulum is saying, yes, yes, just ask me what it is. So it's all about being able to ask questions. And we're going to talk a little bit about what questions to ask. And
Right. And show you a demo of how to do it. And just a little, what we love about talking to the body is that not only is every single person so unique, and they have their own gifts and challenges and what they want to bring into the world. So it's so interesting to talk to every single person's body, because the body knows us better than anyone knows you. It knows if you like broccoli or not. It knows, what your loves, your dislikes, what your history is, where you've been, even past this life and before, how all of this life and spirit has affected you, that mind, body, and spirit. We like to call it the super consciousness. And that's what we tune into and teach people to tune into when they do core talk. And if you hear our dog, that's our dog. She wants to get in on it. She's the healer. So you might hear her. So this is what we teach people to do. And the first thing that we teach is to work with a pendulum. And if you get a pendulum, you can actually use a necklace, or some people have even used a paper clip on a string. You can use anything. And it comes from dowsing, right? And dowsing rods and dowsing for water, ancient technology that even the Ouija board uses, right? That, what is it, psychokinetic energy that we have in our body that can talk to us and give us answers about what is most important for us. So like what we're going to work with Miriam is looking at the, how do we know who we're talking to and what that makes sure we're getting the right answer. But before we jump into that, just maybe a little tiny bit about how we came into this work is that we were back in another life in Silicon Valley working, in tech. Greg was in music software sales. I was a technical training manager. And over the years, we ended up having some major health issues based on not only like stuff that had happened in my childhood, but also the ongoing overwork and stress and passing the babies off at the airport when we were on business trips, things like that. And it was this work, the court actually back then, it was under a different name, but this talking to our bodies, finding out what our bodies needed is what brought us into more perfect health and better, me getting rid of chronic IBS and chronic pneumonia, and then Greg getting rid of some really serious gastrointestinal issues that he got when he was over on a business trip in Germany. And then we took the certification, we taught the certification, opened our healing session, our healing center, and then like 4 or 5 years ago, started going online. And that's why now we're contacting, people all over the world to do this work.
And our favorite thing is to teach many people. The dog's name is Ellie. Yes. And she's sending you all these very specific vibrations
Very
of love.
alpha
It's
love.
all about love. She's got the alpha love thing going. So what's interesting is that what we found is that anyone can learn to do this.
Yes.
And if you have that healer within and it wants to come out and play, we actually do events and we have online programs where we teach people how to use a pendulum, what questions to ask, the process of healing using these ancient techniques that come from acupressure. And if you look back in the traditional Chinese health medicine process, that's where this all comes from, with this updated version of being able to use a pendulum and dowsing to get the answers. So it's fascinating, but simple.
And it's kind of fun and so interesting. It's almost like being a body health detective for yourself.
So and what we find as far as being able to really use our body's wisdom and to be able to tap into that is to realize that love is really running the show. And that the way that we come into the world is how our body processes that experience. And when the experience is guided by our what we want and being able to infuse that with love, even in difficult times when we've had the types of things that happen now on a daily basis in our world, bringing that into our body, that love allows the body to then mirror that in our health. And it's so we use the techniques in Core Talk to be able to bring that flow and balance back to the body by asking the body, where are the imbalances? Where is it? Where are the emotions stuck? Where's the energy not flowing? And then gently trace the meridians and get that flow and that balance back. And
part of what we love to do also is helping people realize, when are they just operating from here up, right? When, and I'm in my head a lot of the day, and I have to be like, oh, the beauty of the world, the noise of the dog, all of these things. But so many times we get caught up here, and it's all about bringing our consciousness more fully down all the way into our belly, into our pelvic basin, so that we inhabit our entire body and that we feel what is going on and can respond.
Next week, we're going to do a whole week. We're going to do a 5-day experience called Heal Your Life with Love. And you're all invited. It's free. We'd love to see you there. That's going to be really fun. To get to it, should I put a link in there?
You can put a link in,
so
and then
this
we'll
is-
get Miriam
Yeah, so
and
this
do a
is
demo.
This is a link to a free gift that we'd love to give you today. It's called 3 Powerful Ways to Tap into Your Body's Wisdom. And when you go to this, you'll get this free gift. And then you'll also be able to register for next week for the Heal Your Life with Love experience.
And
So
this
we'd love
really,
to see
the
you
3
there.
Powerful Ways really talks about what we do to continually regenerate our bodies. And it's all about meditation, conscious breathing, right? That everyone just take a deep breath. And I find sometimes I get excited when I'm talking, and then it's like, oh, a deep breath will bring us all back to being grounded and in our bodies. And so meditation, conscious breathing, and talking to our bodies. And that's what we love to do.
Yeah,
So
so let's bring Miriam in.
Miriam, come on in and let's,
We'll do a little demo.
yeah, fine. Tell us what you would like to work on, and we can do a little demo with the Core Talk.
Hi, I'm
Hey.
so glad to get a healing. So, and pendulums. I love pendulums. I'm always asking, like, a lot of times superficial things from the pendulum, like which grocery store to go to or something.
Yeah, actually, that we do organic. Is this apple really organic?
Oh, you do? Oh, great. I love that. So for me right now, I want to ask a question of a chronic pain condition that I have, that it makes it difficult for me to sit. It's a nerve, a pudendal nerve, which is in the lower part of my body. And so sometimes it hits my psoas muscle on my right side or my piriformis, and it makes it really difficult for me to sit.
Oh dear.
So, and I've done a lot of healing on this, but I believe that there's an aspect of it, of clearing it energetically, that that I still haven't been able to do on my own. So I need some help.
Okay. So
Perfect.
what's interesting when, and you've done a lot of healing on this, you're aware of a lot of how it's happened, why it might be continuing. And what we like is, so we do have expertise in what questions to ask, but your body knows the exact question that will bring out the exact answer that will allow it to heal. So we just depend on your body being able to say, well, I can tell you exactly what to do. So we're just going to ask 4 questions first. So I think what we'll do is and Miriam, one of the things that we have to do when we do this with every client is
How
we
old
have
are
to
you?
make sure you're here. So what's your age?
If you don't mind.
67.
67.
Good job.
Beautiful.
Exactly.
So what we do is there's these 4 questions that we ask, and I'm going to do it with a pendulum, but then you're going to see how we work clinically when we work together.
Yeah.
So we're going to ask Miriam, are you here? Yes. Are you all alone in your auric field?
And you can see his pendulum
Yes.
is going around that way. That's his yes.
Then is it okay to talk? Yes. And are you 67 right now? Oh, look at this. We're
Oh.
getting excellent. Okay, so pendulum says no.
Okay.
So now we're going to start our clinical conversation,
And-
because the pendulum most likely said no because it says, I know exactly when this started, because it's listening. Your body is listening to our conversation and says, oh, I'm so glad she asked about that. Now I get to tell them about it. So,
And so when we teach people, because so many people just work, as a single practitioner to a single client, and that's why we teach people to get the answers from the pendulum. And the way that we learned how to do this work is to use ourselves and our arms as a pendulum. I'll say, show me it. So is Miriam here? Yeah, all alone your auric field. Is it okay if we talk? Are you 67? No, that's right. Okay, still no. So that's perfect. And so this is Greg's show Miriam's yes, show Miriam's no, right? And this is the essence of muscle testing, which is exactly the same as dowsing and using the pendulum.
just think of our arms as the pendulum, And it's just the way we do it
Yeah.
when we work together. Many times we get on a call with clients or with our students, and it's just one of us. And it's so fun to do by yourself. So if you're a practitioner and you see this, it is so fun to use a pendulum and go through these healing sessions.
Yes. So Miriam, you want to look at a different age.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is all about healing that pain in your pelvis.
Yes.
Yes. And do you want to take us to before you're 10?
No.
Oh, no, before you're 20.
No.
Before you're 30.
No.
Before you're 40.
No.
Before you're 50.
Before 50.
Before 45.
No.
At 45, 46, 47, 48, 47.
Huh.
What happened at 47?
Gosh, I have to think about that.
Has it been
That's
going
like
on that long, do you think?
Years ago. So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, so it's
So-
like 2002.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I do know, I'm pretty sure what that is.
Okay.
And it was a medical procedure that I had. So it's like, oh yeah, that went wrong.
Oh my
Okay.
goodness. Is that what this is about? Yes. And did that,
Diminish the flow.
it
somewhere.
diminish the flow? Yes. And is that what you want to show us? And is there a physiological reason for that pain? No, this isn't energetic. You got really mad about that. Did that happen?
Absolutely.
Very angry. And is that stuck in the gallbladder?
And we're just guessing. So we're
Okay.
guessing.
Kind of
and then
logically going down.
logic, yeah.
Well, and the intuition too can kind of come in. It's like, oh, anger about
Yeah.
that going wrong and the pain and suffering it caused for you. Yes. And we
Yes.
confirm everything with what the body wants to talk about because the body's the one that knows.
Yeah.
Yes. So are we on the right track here, body? Yeah. Do you want to, is the best thing to clear the gallbladder meridian? Do you
liver.
want liver first?
Yeah.
Yes. Very frustrating, even more so.
Mhm.
Are there cords? Are there cords going out?
Not so much.
Are there cords coming in?
Yeah.
Is that possibly from the medical team? Anyone else? No. Can we take that cording energy out? Is that all up and down? Yes.
Okay, so in the chakras.
And it's not uncommon for medical personnel to cord people because they really want to have a good outcome. They really want you to heal. And so sometimes that's how they show their intention. Are those cords out? Yes. And do you have any cords out? No. Can we clear liver? Yes.
So now we're just going to, your etheric body is here. and we're
I've
going
got
to-
your toes.
We're going to trace your liver meridian from underneath your rib cage. Just take a breath.
Take a breath.
Go down the inside of your legs.
I release everything that does not serve me. Anything, any anger. Oh, or
And go back up
frustration.
the legs. Take a breath, receiving this energy back up into the body. And that goes right under the rib cage. And take another breath.
Is that clear? Now, do you want to do gallbladder? No, it was all in liver. And is it in another meridian? Do you want to clear another emotion or meridian about that situation?
Yep.
Yes. Is that spleen?
No.
Is that about fear? Yeah. Is that in bladder? Yes. Is that the best place? Are there cords? Any cords going out, cords coming in? Would you tell us?
Yep.
Yes. Can we clear bladder?
Yeah.
And bladder is really about terror, or it can be fear of death of a situation or an ability, perhaps in this case. Does that feel right to you?
Yeah.
Take a breath.
Go down the back of the body. Now we're coming up
There you go. There
Front.
you go.
to kidney meridian. And the kidney meridian It's all about exposure, and the kidney meridian governs the psoas.
Which is, of course, one of the,
That's what she said in the
yeah, it's
right side. The
so
psoas.
much pain can come from that tight psoas. Right, body? Is that what's happening here? Yeah. Can you release that holding and tension in the psoas? And can you reestablish that flow? Do you
Yeah.
want to say something about that?
Do you want to go down kidney? Yeah, we're going to do that. Any cords? No. So we're going to clear this energy in the kidney down. It'll give it a more, ooh, take a breath.
Yeah, this
Right
is
as we
big,
go
actually.
through your power chakra, there's a little something there. We've done this for 27 years, so we feel all this stuff as we're going, but practitioners who are just learning that, they get excellent results without having to have that deeper feeling, because the body is guiding us. It's telling us what to do. So your body is doing this as we go step by step here.
Is that better, body? Yes. Is there another emotion or meridian you'd like to clear? Would you,
What is the piriformis a little tight? Yeah. Would you like to do circulation sex? Yeah. Would that be helpful? Are there any cords? No. Can we do that now? Yeah. So the circulation sex meridian is what governs the piriformis. So we're going to do that.
get all of that loosened up.
In fact, it
And
does all the
flowing.
glutes. So it helps with all that.
We're going down your arms and now back your arms.
Back up, triple warmer.
Triple warmer, 3 burners. Is that better? Is there another? Do you want to do spleen?
Nope.
Nope. Is that clearing now? Is the energy flow reestablished throughout all that musculature? And will that pain subside?
Let's do governing.
Yes. Would you like to do governing and central now? Yeah. Okay. And governing and central has that beautiful flow around the oval, around your entire body. And it governs all the meridians. Meets at the lips. We call it the kiss. Is that better, body? Yeah. And is that better at 47? Yeah. Is there anything else at 47 that you want to do? No. Do you want to come up to 67? Are you 67 now? At 67, is there something about this situation, that pain, that you want to resolve?
Yeah.
Yes.
Now it's gallbladder.
Now it's gallbladder because you're mad about all the pain. Is that
so
right?
long.
And yeah. Oh, is that the best place? Are there any cords? No.
Okay.
Have you tapped into that anger about the pain and the situation?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. On
Yeah,
a lot of different levels.
Right.
That's good. And what's interesting about gallbladder, so it is all about this big anger, but gallbladder and liver also govern all of the tendons and ligaments.
Yeah. All the connective tissue.
When we get this flow going, it allows that balance with the tendons and ligaments to be more comfortable. Down the outside of the legs to the 4th toe. Then we're going to come up the lateral big toe, the liver meridian.
Do you breathe a lot? Are you a kind of conscious breather?
I do breathing, and one of the issues for this that has come up lately is that, which I think is common for a lot of people who hold even older trauma in their body, like me, is that we hold our breath.
Yes.
So for me, there's breath, like if I hold my breath, or if I speak. So this is an issue on these many teaching layers that have been coming up for me.
Beautiful. And we encourage you to do conscious breathing. Many people will say, okay, if we also getting up, when we're not sitting down all the time, and to integrate that breathing, 3 conscious breaths as you go through the day. And we especially love it for me because I have had shallow breathing. I taught myself to breathe shallowly when I was a child. And so I've had to reteach myself, especially before I go to bed. I do a breathing meditation. When I wake up, I do a breathing meditation. That's one of the ways I got rid of the irritable bowel, along with clearing allergies, negative associations, and this other work too. So the breathing is really important to continue that reestablishment of the flow in and throughout our entire body. Would you like to do that, body? Have more conscious breathing? Yeah, maybe some breathing meditations. And is there another meridian or emotion that you would like to clear right here, right now? Would you tell us? Yeah, could we do governing and central now?
Okay.
Yes.
Put the bow on the
Put
box.
the bow on the whole thing.
And take a breath. Governing and central vessels are energy vessels that bring balance to your whole body,
Yeah.
and they govern all the meridians.
Yeah. Is that feeling better? Will that pain be relieved?
Yeah.
Yes. Hey body, is there something you want to tell your owner? Yes. You like the breathing idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Breathe.
Yeah.
That was, yeah, breathe. Is this an okay place to stop? Yes.
There we go.
Yay.
Oh,
Wow. Thank you. And thank you, audience, for holding the space for me. That feels fantastic. And I will, I think this has to settle in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let us know.
Great.
yeah,
Great.
we'd love to hear.
Thank you.
If you have our email, let us
Okay.
know how it goes.
Okay, thank you. Thanks so much.
You're
You're
welcome.
welcome. I'm going to put this link up again. So next week, we're going to do this Heal Your Life with Love. And on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, in addition to the little mini trainings that we do every day, which is a little video that you get, we're also going to do a healing call on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
That's just like this.
Yeah. And the way that you get there is to go to this 3 powerful ways to tap into your body's wisdom link, where you get that gift that talks about some of the things that are, these in the moment ideas of what you can do to really bring that balance back into your body.
Yeah.
And then you can sign up for the Heal Your Life with Love experience next week, and all of that's free.
Yep. And thank you, Carol. Just purchased the videos, which will
Yay.
include all the healing calls as well as all the videos, everything.
Yeah.
And someone else in the chat was wondering if she felt it. And, it's so different for every person. Sometimes it needs to settle in. Sometimes people will come back at the end of the call, or, even 10 minutes later, and like, the pain is gone. And so it's just different for everyone. And it's always interesting and a joy.
And to address that, I can say that right now with that, I feel exhilarated, and it felt right, or I thought it was right. And for me, it always takes time to settle in. I'm not going to be one of those, the stuff and everything's gone. So I kind of know how things work with me, and it'll be like later on in the day, I'll forget it and going, that feels really good. So
Yeah.
I trust that, because this feels so right. And throughout the whole healing, I kept thinking, God, and I really like these guys.
Yeah, they're very
Aw.
likable.
Thank you. And there was
Beautiful.
a question in the chat just about how Miriam's body answers through Greg's arm. So Greg was being a channel for Miriam. And then with the muscle testing, a yes goes up and a no goes down, because it's like strong and weak, like the chiropractor will do in your office. Their office.
Kinesiology.
Yeah,
Kinesiology.
applied kinesiology.
Right. Beautiful. Wow. What a great demo. Thank you so much. I enjoyed watching your action, or your work in action.
It's just fun for us.
Yep.
You're going to come back on. So right now I want to introduce Miriam. You stay right where you are. Miriam is an amazing, brilliant practitioner. I've been honored to call a close friend here in the Bay Area. We're both polarity therapists, and somebody mentioned to me, oh, I know somebody who does this tarot with polarity, and it's a somatic model. And I'm like, what? Being a dancer, anything somatic was fascinating to me. And Miriam has written a couple of books now. Tarot in Motion, her course I've been involved with. It's a beautiful community that's building energetic elements with movement by pulling tarot cards, the ancient model that we're all, I hope, familiar with. She's been able to parallel a modern activity from the cards that she's developed on her own. And I invite you with wholeheartedness to come and share with everybody your work, Miriam. Welcome.
Thanks so much, Deanna. So what I'm going to do is I am going to start with a very short PowerPoint presentation that will go over a little bit of my past. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to show you a couple of videos and then invite Antonia and Greg to pull cards. So this is something that can work live or it can work on screen. What I won't make them do, but will invite them to do later, is to do a dance. So I'm going to share my screen and go through this. Okay. And let's go here and tell me if you guys can see this. So
Yes.
My intention with this is a tool that I've developed it was called Dancing with the Tarot, and I now call it Tarot in Motion because that idea of dance really makes people a lot nervous. And so it's motion because it only becomes dance when you feel it in your body. And let's go to this next. So what I did is I'm a polarity practitioner like Deanna, which is this great foundation. It's a great foundation or a good container for almost anything. And what that led me to do, I was a closet tarot card reader for a long time and based in New York and studied in New York. And when I moved out here and started a practice here, I realized that I needed something to ground my clients. And perhaps it was because that, and so you guys can still great. So I started pulling tarot card readings for them, tarot cards. And this would be at the beginning of the session. And what it did is it helped them get out of their minds and into their bodies. So this led me to create Polarity Wellness Tarot. I realized that the tarot suits had a lot to do with the elements and that they kind of synchronized. And this really went along with how I learned things, which was more by, connecting the dots and to see how everything connected. And it wasn't like a reading and memorizing things. It was also feeling it in my body. And then what happened? So I created a deck called Polarity Wellness Tarot. And then Schiffer Publishing asked me to write this book, Tarot and the Chakras, Opening New Dimensions to Healers. And so that further synthesized systems, because this goes along with different quality of elements. And then the Vedic version of chakras have to do with the elements. And so that led me to relate the cards further. So the card deck has a little user guide, but further on. And, one of my premises is to get everybody to use tarot as an informational tool. And it doesn't have to be this big, daunting thing. And if you can relate to it in the body, then that's an incredible way. Or through astrology, there's so many systems, and they don't like fit perfectly, because these universal systems are really made so that you can put your own thought into it. So, and then I do these, back to the cards, I do these funky collages instead of illustrations. There's hundreds of decks out there. So on my deck, there's these, there's on all of the cards, there's at this top, there's symbols. And those symbols originally, when I made the deck, were meant for body workers to use in their sessions. Because when you pull cards in a body work session, I could go, okay, so the devil may mean something about people being stuck in a superficial place, or it could also mean that people are viewing things in a way that's not very helpful, or they're indulging in something. And I found that pulling these cards can help. So it relates to the joints because it's a major arcana card, or because it's Capricorn. So if you're an astrologer, you know that Capricorn relates to the knees. So, and it also then, polarity has different kinds of touch. And again, just like these cards, or just like polarity, it just gives you some foundation, maybe of where to start. So in this case, it might mean Rajasic or rocking motion. And that I get to in a whole other way. And so if there were 4 cards, I do these 4-card readings. And in this case, one that was done for a dancer, it showed 4 cards. And then the spread that I do, that I learned from these, from a class that I took probably in the early 80s. So all of these cards have little symbols, a little polarity man on the bottom of them. And they relate to where to access the body. So in a body work session, I may further another layer of it, access that portion of the body. Okay, and this, let's see if I can get this to, there we go. So what happened is that Polarity also gave us a yoga type. Dr. Stone, the founder of Polarity, gave us a yoga type exercise program that related to the elements. And what happened is that I was thinking, well, maybe I could teach yoga, or have a yoga teacher who can help me facilitate learning tarot in this way. And what happened is that dance really won out. For years, I've always loved dance. I saw a lot of dance. I didn't have formal training, but when I came to California, I started to do a lot of somatic practices. And that, if you're from the Bay Area, you know that Anna Halpern, who's the mother of somatic dance, which before her death a couple years ago, I got to do a lot of classes with her. But yet what I found with somatic dances is that it was this great expression and release of energy, but yet how was it that people came to this? And so I thought, well, pulling tarot cards could give that dance an intention. So with any kind of healing, and just for what Antonia and Greg did, is they needed to do their pendulum. They needed like a clear intention. This also goes with polarities, is that we need a clear intention of where to start, whether that's what's your intention or just what a practitioner gathers from speaking to their client beforehand. So I was lucky enough to write this last book, which came out last fall. And so here are the elements. So in polarity, this little polarity man, let's get this out of my way. They all have, I don't know if I can go back. Okay, here we go. So what happened is that then there's different aspects of the body that relate to elements. And so the green is air, the yellow is fire, the orange is earth, and the orange is water, and the red is earth. And this came from a chart that Dr. Stone did, that this is a color version that had astrological components and where they are in the body. And on my cards then, once I decided to do dance, I transformed those symbols into what it would be for a dance. So again, it overlapped. Like at first, the movement was the pace changed from movement of, so it's another way of accessing the body. And then the elements came in as quality of movement. And here then my aces have 3, then the minor arcana cards have 5, the major arcana have another aspect, and the court cards. And in my first book, Tarot and the Chakras, and in the first talk that I gave, Synthesize the System, which was, and Jim, you can probably tell us better, that was sometime in October I gave that speech. So with the dance, the way that the dance changed is that it's really a simple process. And so Tarot in Motion, I do classes. I like it in a group. You can do them one-on-one online, or you can do them in live classes. I have a class in Berkeley that's coming up on June, I think it's June 12th, and or online. So there's something about online that you get that you don't get live, and that is that you can do it in the comfort of your own home. But this is really, it ends up really being simple. It's having an intention. So this is an intention or a question. These questions are basic questions, and this helps focus what's being asked by the cards. Open-ended questions. I'm not the type of tarot reader who's going to tell you your future. I'm more like going to point you in that direction. So what happens with the tarot is you can ask that, but it tends up, I think you guys, Antonio and Greg, were talking about this. It's not just from up here in your mind, it's also in your body. And now tarot does do that really well. It also has symbols to them and a long, long history. And so if I'm in a class, I'm going to sort of narrow down that specific intention. And that has to do with a lot with the 8 seasonal holidays, if it's around there, because then that's something that universally is being felt too. Or it could be another holiday like Valentine's Day. And in the book, I'll give, how do I best love myself? So the questions then have in the group have a more group community question that's being asked. And in that way, what's going to happen is that people can relate to each other. So I'm really interested in creating community. I'm really interested in another way of accessing tarot so that people who already know tarot can embody it. If you embody it, it's easier to understand the tarot. It's also so that people can deal with their stuff and go really deep, because in classes, things come up. People have this like aha moment that comes up while they're being witnessed. And it's fun. So instead of going into this whole heavy, analysis of what's going up, what happens is that we interpret the cards and the meanings, and there's descriptions on your cards. And this part we'll go over with Antonio and Greg, the related symbols, the illustrations, what do other people say, and then let your movements spark to what happens. So what happens is if you're in front of a group of people, you're going to, your muscle memory takes over. This is a little different than performative dance, although this can be a basis for for meaningful choreography. So you don't have to have dance, movement, experience, or performance. It has given people the opportunity who have just taken dance to make their own. And then there's something happens. And if you're not know where to start, you have the guidelines. So with the guidelines are, let's see. So I give people guidelines. This can, this is that chart you saw before of, it could be focused on what part of the body, it could be a chakra. And these are just, this is also because they relate to the cards and they relate then to universal systems. It's going to be able to have meaning. It's sort of like you can go into an art gallery and there's a painting that, even if you don't understand what that meaning is, if there's meaning behind it, you're going to feel what that meaning is. This is the same thing that happens with tarot and what happens with tarot in motion. So these guidelines they're almost like resource options, and they're in between structure and improv. So it generates movement material. And as I do my group classes, this has evolved. There's also other things that you can do. You can have music, you can have props and costumes. A lot of times that make it really fun. And what's happening is that my classes evolve. It's like not only of the years of like, okay, let's have the spring equinox find balance. And sometimes it's that balance in yourself. Sometimes it's one or two cards that people can pull. And so it evolves over the years. And then what just happened in my last class, which was a few weeks ago, is that the sound system failed. So for a long time, probably pre-pandemic, and people were choosing music that they liked, that had that same quality. I believe, and this came from me watching Merce Cunningham, who did music who did dance aside of the music. And so this has evolved. And so what happened is it came around and people didn't dance, people didn't use music. And the first person to present was someone who produces dance performances. And what she did is that she spoke. And so that inspired everybody else to speak. So, now I'm thinking, well, maybe I shouldn't use music for a while. So this is how this creates, and it creates a community. And so, one of the things that gets used here are the elements and the quality. So if you have any of these elements on a card, you might go, oh, well, it's a water card. That's going to be flowing, smooth, connecting movements. It's also going to be the pace. So this is just a place to start. And so there's people who completely have an idea of what their dance is going to be. And then there's people who just go up and go for it. So, and of course, the most important thing is the meaning of the card. I'm certainly not the first person who's put music to tarot. So here with the hanged man, so if someone got a hanged man in a dance, I would have them look at the symbols on the top and see how that relates, and maybe suggest. And so in my Tarot in Motion book, what happens is that I also give, besides possibilities of seasonal ways class could be like, is that with this it's like, it's the throat chakra. There's a lot of water there. It might be emphasizing the feet. It might be something like part of the movement piece is by going upside down or looking at things differently. So there's some sort of magic that happens and helps you move through some stuff that maybe you aren't there when Jim started the talk about is about how, is what's happened in Texas yesterday, and how this is like, we're all traumatized by this, not even if we're not directly affected. And so, and what's going to happen next with climate change, with Ukraine, with all of these pieces, we don't know. But I'm really clear that my intention is to get people as clear and have their stuff come up and be cleared as much as possible. So here's a way to clear all that stuff and still have fun and build community. If someone gets this 4 of Fire card, then if you know anything, so it's a solar plexus, it's quick movement, it's fire. So you can look back about what that fire is, or you can look at the meaning of the 4 of Fire and see what that's about. Like that's another way to do it. And I love that. So this is, a celebration and a completion. Or if you know anything about astrology, then Venus in Aries. So not only is that something that you can incorporate in your dance, but then it's a way of, if you know about Venus in Aries, then you also know that, then this is from the forehead and what can you do in that dance. So what I've always done, and this then is for Antonia and Greg, is in terms of thinking about what question you want to ask, is these are sort of basic questions. What can I learn from this situation? How can I best approach? What are the implications of my choices? What are and how can I overcome negative circumstances? Am I off course? What's happened for me to reconnect to this situation, or what's going on, or what the fuck is going on? So what I'd like to do now is to invite Greg and Antonia to come back on the screen. And then what we'll do is then, if we have time afterwards, which I think we will, what we'll do is I'll show you a couple videos of dances that people have done. So what I'd like to do is, and this is great for online, is I'm going to have Greg and Antonia, do you have questions in mind?
Yeah, we've been, we're doing a certification course that we've done as a beta for, we're in our 2nd year, and it takes a lot of commitment from us and the whole situation. So our question is, we'd love to get more clarity and around the intention, and
Are we on the right
course?
At the way we're pursuing rolling and developing this program?
So how about if we do 2 cards that Greg will pull one on clarity, and then Antonia, you could pull one on
Direction.
Great, perfect, thank you. So I'm often going to help reframe that, but just what just happened there is Antonia said, no, let's do it this way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my screen down. And here, let's hope that you have both of them, all of the cards here. And I'm going to run my left hand through them. And then Greg, tell me when to stop and what finger. So can you say that question again?
Yeah, finding clarity around our certification course. Are we doing the right thing?
Okay, so how can I best find clarity?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, and just then tell me when to stop and what.
Okay. Stop.
That one or
that one right there. Yeah.
this?
Yes. Yes.
All right, I'm going to just put that one aside for you. Okay, Antonia.
And wanting to check in on the direction of the way we're doing the program. Yes, and you're almost there. Yeah, get that one that's sticking out there so much.
This one or this one?
The first.
The middle finger? Okay. Okay, this is where I get really excited always when I pull cards.
Yay.
So Greg pulled the death card. So that is not necessarily death and dying are scary. Okay, so that is about a change or a transformation.
Right.
So I think that what you're putting up, what you're connecting to is that this round's going to be different.
Yes, when we have had exactly that experience of opening our eyes to a whole different reality that we hadn't quite seen before.
So this is it's a little bit different than, you know, which is why my death card is kind of like this silly goofy puppet, and it's your movement for this is really slow, and it's also relating to kind of towards your pelvis. So, you know, so that's actually, you know, and maybe moving around with that. And with this, then, you know, what happens with the death card, and I'm going to pull up the book because what I've done in the book is I've given some fun direction movements. So that was kind of, you know, me being silly. This is something that you're really passionate about. It relates to astrologically to Scorpio. So it's shedding an old way of being, and it's preparing for something new. So this isn't frightening. This is actually exciting. It also, besides relating to the throat chakra, it's also going to relate to your third eye. So this is something where what's going to come in for this isn't necessarily all of this intellectual understanding that you have. What this is really about is it's coming from that intuition. And it's about embracing this, which I believe that what I've just experienced that you're doing anyway, but this is even a different way of doing it. To be silly, it would be if there was like some sort of death costume. I like to bring costumes or have people prepared or run around their house if it's online of something that relates to that. Maybe it's a Halloween mask or something. In many of decks, this also relates to a snake shedding its skin.
Oh, I love
Polarity wise, it could be, you know, taking a shower or a bath and scrubbing off the dead skin. So there's one way of doing it. And what I love is, but this is a really important juncture for both of you, because the next card is the Lovers. All right. So the Lovers is also, right, it's lovers and it's a union of opposites, but you're talking about the clarity and the way that this comes up. So the major arcana cards are also their major karmic deal. So if you're finding yourself a little stuck about this new program, even though it's something that you've done before, this like totally ups the ante, because it's like we talk about like the old issues coming up. So for you, that this is like even another layer of those images coming up.
Oh my gosh, I love that, because last week when we were first starting to deal with actually kind of this next revelation of what's happening, I kept getting the message better together, better together.
Okay, so then you have that already in you and you know what it is. And what I would have you hypothetically do is for you guys to do a dance together. And you know what? And so maybe what this is it's also like, it might be dancing to music, or it might be, just have fun, and take some time, whether that's in your morning meditations or it's before, sometime over the weekend, is to do some of those movements together. And maybe you've danced before, while you were courting each other or in the beginning of your relationship, that you danced and that you connected in that way. And, make sure that you feel your heartbeat. And the Lovers is a different type of pace. It's sort of a moderate pace. It's Gemini. And so all of this it really, it doesn't matter how we connect. What matters is that we connect. Whatever system, the meridian systems, I don't use, and there is an overlap polarity wise that I'll maybe connect with you guys and tell about a little later, and throat chakra. So for you guys, it's really about communicating and changing the way that you're doing things, and know that sometimes that with dealing with major arcana cards, it's difficult to do.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. That was
you're welcome.
so interesting and deep. Love that.
Wow. Thank you.
So Deanna, do we have time for a little bit of a dance?
Well, actually, I like to invite Jim back because I'm sure he's biting at the bit with everybody's questions too on chat, Miriam.
Okay,
I think it's better because it was so succinct right now, every part of your demos together. It just was fascinating how it all was so personalized and functionary to both of your journeys or all of your journeys. It was so beautiful. Thank you so much how you both shared your work, and everybody was buzzing on the chat like Polarity alive. I don't know if you saw that, but
I know
loved
about
it.
Polarity Alive.
Polarity alive.
Yeah, there was a group called Polarity Alive, and I have to apologize. I cannot follow the chat. So
That's okay. That's okay. Jim, do you have anything to offer?
Not to worry. It's amazing, Miriam, just how many people are fascinated with tarot.
Mm-hmm.
Not only in our community in the chat, but just worldwide. There's something about the tarot cards, like the Kabbalah, the Sephiroth, the tree of life in the Kabbalah, that taps into a deep awareness that people have that there's something profound in the cards. So I just wanted to raise that and ask you, why do you think that is? What is it about the tarot that people find so fascinating?
It is universal systems, and it relates to the tarot, which I'm not going to get into right now, but there is a relation, and we're always relating. We're relating to the elements. The elements relate to the directions, they relate to qualities, they can relate to the meridians, they relate to this. And you know what else I think, especially in this changing world, we really need systems to go by. I mean, I want to, besides get people over their stuff and have fun, I want them to use the tarot in a way it doesn't have to be daunting. A lot of systems in tarot, which there is that aspect because it goes deep. It's because there's content.
Yeah. And I went and found my mom's tarot deck and was going through, I was like, yes, I remember that for, 50, 60 years ago.
Yeah. There's just something about it that's almost mesmerizing. There's like a deep mystery to it that is both tantalizing and challenging at the same time. And I think in part because of the cards, you brought up the death card in this reading now. And when you think the death card, your whole body goes, oh, the death card. And then when you explain it, you realize, well, it's multivalent. There's many dimensions to what it is. So thank you, Miriam. I love the presentation, and remember the last time you were here when I drew the cards, and they were quite profound about humanity rising. It was quite fascinating. And then I wanted to turn in the few minutes we have Greg and Antonia, back to the pendulum. You know, because you started out with the pendulum, and I'd love you to say more about the pendulum, because most of what you were showing us was, you know, the kind of
Muscle testing.
the muscle testing. Thank you. But presumably you can do the same thing with the pendulum.
Absolutely. And we
Maybe you
teach
could show
people-
us, and it's just so people have that sense of not only the muscle tension, but also the pendulum. So go into that in a little bit more detail.
Yeah, and really, I mean, it's a way of being able to relate either to your body, to be able to ask it yes, no questions, or to also clear energy. So the pendulum has all of these aspects to it where, you know, as I'm speaking, it says, yes, do that. So now, I mean, and it just has this ability to reflect whatever's going on.
Mhm.
And it has a direct connection to your body's energy field.
So the first thing that we do with people is we calibrate our pendulum. So we say, pendulum, show me a yes. You can see mine's going back and forth right now. And then we say, okay, and we kind of stop it at first. Then we say, pendulum, show me a no. And it's going around and around. And so that's how we find out what is our yes and no, by calibrating our pendulum. And this is it is being the channel for our body's energy. Body, are you talking to, pendulum, are you talking to my body? Yes. Oh, is it all right if we talk right now? Yeah. Am I 62? Yeah. Am I all alone in my auric field? And it's just saying, yes, yes, yes. And do you know what I want to talk about? Yes. And then we'll embark on this whole series of questions so we calibrate first, then we ask these 4 questions to make sure we're all here. And then we ask yes and no questions only.
Gotcha.
Although you can have these I'll just, because my pendulum knows what I like. So pendulum, show me a maybe. So it's kind of like, it can have these
Advanced
other
pendulum work.
advanced pendulums, but as you can get past just a yes and
But
no.
you could use the pendulum like you were doing with Miriam in terms of the event 20 years ago that really ignited, and it was clear, Miriam, that they nailed it through their discovery process, shall we say.
Yeah.
But you can do that just as effectively.
Oh yeah, and
through the
so
pendulum.
because the first question that gave us the clue was Miriam, are you?
I actually did it with the pendulum to find her when we realized that her body didn't want to talk about current time 67. Because when I asked that question, are you 67 right now? The pendulum said no.
No,
So
I'm
that's what gave us the information to go from there. If I were working just by myself online with Miriam, I've invited her energetic field into my presence here. We're all in this quantum field of energy where everything is possible in all time and space. So I can then work with her energy field in this place where I am, asking yes, no questions, and my pendulum will give me the answers based on what her body is reflecting.
And does it matter which hand you use?
It doesn't at all. And in fact, when you look at traditional dowsing, many times they're using 2 rods or 2 things that they're holding because they want to get directional things for like finding water. And some people are left-handed, some people are right-handed. When I put it into my right hand, because I'm left-handed, it's like, ooh, that feels a little weird, but it actually does react well. And it will,
Yeah.
I can recalibrate, show
and
me
see,
a yes.
he holds his pretty,
Show me a
the
no.
chain shorter, but you can have the chain longer. And we actually have a fun workshop that's before every live event. That's the Pendulum Power Happy Hour. And we basically do what we just did, but give a little history and all that kind of stuff. Yep. And Deanna has hers.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I mean,
Mine.
there he is.
Hey.
It's all, the
Mine goes
wishy-washy.
around. Mine goes clockwise when it's yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
But-
then counterclockwise when it's no's. Yours goes back and forth. So each
But it
person,
changes, Jim.
It can change.
That's why it's about calibrating each time you ask the questions, because that's what I thought before I met Antonia and Greg. I'm like, well, it's always doing a certain yes and no. But then I started doing it separately each time with that focus. And the sometimes the pendulum will go opposite, counterclockwise for a yes.
Yeah, because
and how
mine,
do you
yes,
tell the
is
difference?
Well, you
just-
ask the question, show me a yes
Show me a yes.
in the
Oh,
moment.
okay.
Yeah.
And in
Gotcha.
the, look at it's showing me a yes and it's counterclockwise. Normally that's a no.
And my yes now is
Oh.
back to the clockwise circle, which it is normally, but for some reason, when we started, it was like, no, I'm gonna have a yes like this.
It's in the present moment.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And then
Gotcha.
there's the infinite intelligence of the pendulum, where you ask it a question and it says, I'm not even going to answer that question because that's not the right place to go. And it'll just sit there.
Yeah.
You ask another question, it just sits there.
Yeah.
It says,
So you can
"Oh."
really get deep into,
Yeah, it's like the I Ching. One of the hexagrams is, are you kidding me?
right, basically, like, really?
Really? Yeah. You need to
Yeah,
think
I
about that.
get
one.
that with, I get that with the tarot too.
Right.
You know, I had someone who I was reading for regularly for a while, and she would, you know, she was powerful in her own right, but she always wanted to change the outcome of what the tarot was saying, and would try to sneak and ask it in a different way. And there was one point where the cards were like, no way. These cards, do not go there. And she would always get those cards. And sometimes it was like, you know, 3 minutes into the reading, and it was like, oh, okay, that's it. That's all we can do right now because, you know, you're trying to change it. And then the other thing I wanted to say back to my healing is that I'm like sitting okay. Like,
Yay.
dancing
Wow.
thing. And I'm
Love
like,
that.
wait a second, what just happened here?
It's not hurting. Yay.
Now, just as a
Woo!
final question to all of you, you know, in the spirit of integral medicine, where they've discovered that different techniques have different specific utilities. Acupuncture has a certain utility as opposed to homeopathy, for example, so that as you understand dowsing and the muscle tension work and tarot, how would you differentiate the utility of each one of these techniques for people's understanding?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should anyone?
Or is it all the same?
I would say it's whatever you you connect to. Like it goes back to that energy thing of where is it that you can connect? I mean, you can have a brilliant practitioner who, you know, a chiropractor who does adjustments. And if for that moment, that's what your body is wanting, or you can relate to, or that works. So there's some sort of way of connecting there. So it's not specific. Yeah, you know, to me, acupuncture is better if it's organ related, and chiropractic might be better for structural things. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we have different practitioners in our trainings who use core talk for different things. So some work with animals, some work with kids, some work with people who want to create a way to do better in their business, create goals, and then, you know, release the energy around taking action.
And some people work entirely on physiological issues. So
Gotcha.
again, it is kind of whatever that person brings and really needs, and moving forward with that.
And that's why I helped with Core Talk, because it goes into your core.
Yeah.
It's your medicine in the moment
Right.
that your body is wanting, and that universal intelligence that's surrounding all of us is flowing through us. And that's why the cards are like, or the pendulum is like, you're not going to manipulate me.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, with your intention, if your intention isn't just to be open and present with what's
Right.
that core issue in the moment.
Yeah. Well, thank you all so much. This has been profoundly illuminating. I've loved it, and and especially to do the tarot reading live. And then the way you illuminated Miriam live was a beautiful session. Thank you very, very much. And thank you, Deanna, for convening this. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about tomorrow's session?
Well, tomorrow's session is really an honor and a privilege to have Dr. John Beaulieu on, one of my favorite master teachers of sound healing, and has his own tuning forks that he makes, and a musician, and also was my polarity therapy teacher and Miriam's polarity therapy teacher. So we're really gifted to have him on the program.
Oh, wow. So we're going to the source here for
Yep.
polarity. Well, thank you, Deanna. Thank you, Antonia and Greg. Thank you, Miriam. This has been marvelous and illuminating, and just what we needed on a day like this of such intense sadness. It's always important, everyone, to remember what Whitehead said, the great philosopher about 100 years ago. He says, in appreciating reality, we always need to bear in mind that Christ was crucified and the fairies dance, that there are tragedies, and we need to honor those tragedies. And we also need to honor the vitality of healing, like we've done today, so that we don't over immerse ourselves in one aspect of our reality, but we continue to frame a regenerative path within which our sadness at a deep tragedy can be contained and thereby healed. So we've endeavored to do that today. So on Humanity Rising, when we bring up these challenging realities, we try always to frame them and contain them in a loving, compassionate way, knowing that we're all frail creatures and we all have challenges, either physical or emotional or psychological, familial. We're all in constellations of trauma. And yet, in and through this, the Spirit guides in a way that ultimately redeems if we just open to that Spirit. And so, Deanna, I just want to thank you for convening such an extraordinary group of people on this particular day.
Yeah.
You're very good at what you do. Your timing is excellent.
Synchronistic, it has been. And are you going to the after chat? You're both invited. So I know that the audience wants to ask you questions. Thank you so much, Jim.
Thank you all. We'll see you again here tomorrow, everyone, for a deeper dive into polarity on our 4th of 5 days on self-healing in a regenerative way. Bye for now. See you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much.